I'm Betsy Young, and I was introduced to Windwood about, I think, 14 years ago. A lady named Mary Causey, who was actually the first woman on the board 40 years ago, was making dinners out here on Wednesday nights for the boys, and I asked her if I could help her. And she said, sure, come along. And I didn't know how many boys there were. And so she just whipped up dinner for like 25 boys, and I made brownies for 25 boys, and they were so darling, and we served them dinner, and just, it was a wonderful experience. And it was out here on the farm, and that was the time I started falling in love with them. As a matter of fact, when Mary Causey, when she was retiring from the board, I asked her, I said, would you put a good word in for me? And I guess she did, because that day Debbie asked me if I wanted to be on the board. And it's just a great group of people that just really concerned about Windwood. And there's some times that it was we've had some pretty serious board meetings about how we're going to get through this next financial season. And you have to know, you have to have that same I don't know, almost like you're making decisions. It is like making decisions for your family. We want them to go back home, be in their home with their family, but if that's not the right thing, it's not the right thing. I think that's one of the things that people should understand. It's not just one boy we're working with, but we're working with families, and we're working with generations. And if we can make an impact that way, and I know we can because we see it all the time. I remember teaching Sunday school, and at the end of the Sunday school that we would hold hands with the boys, and we had asked the boys if they would want to pray in the circle. And so they would go around and they would pray, and they would pray for the staff, they would pray for their grandma, they would pray for their brother, they would pray to get out of here, they would pray that they were thankful they were in here. And by the time we were done, I would have tears on the floor, because I was crying from hearing all their little heartfelt, unfiltered messages. And they were brave enough to say them out loud. So that was probably one of my biggest memories here. And then there's other people that the staff would tell the little boys not to stuff their pockets with food. They were like, little man, you don't need to do that. We're going to have a snack in 2 hours, and we're going to have dinner after that, and you don't have to worry about where you're going to eat next, and you don't think about that. I mean, that they didn't know where their food was coming from, so they were still on that survival mode, stuff in their pockets. So, but my husband and I would drive out of here afterwards, and I would say, I think we should adopt so-and-so. And my husband, in all his practical wisdom, he said, I love that little boy too, but he's right where he needs to be. He needs the care, the expertise, and being in the safety. I think that's one of the big things for me, where if you have a little, and even they're not so little sometimes, right? If you have a boy, a young man that has no safe place on this world to be, then he needs to be here. We would swim. We would swim with the boys, but really the boys would come and they would say, Miss Betsy, will you go out in a canoe with me? And I'm like, okay, we got to have life jackets on. And they're like, okay. And so here's me and a little 10-year-old boy out there, and I'm paddling, and I'm thinking, I haven't done this in ages, and here I am. And this little boy trusts me to take him out in this canoe. And so it was fun. And they were like, okay, time to come back in. And I'm like, will you paddle some more up there? And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. They come in anticipation, and then they leave so happy. Right? What's this going to be like? And then they leave, and they're tired, and they're feeling content, right? And we love that. We love when that happens.